Roy Stewart Moore is an American judge, Republican politician, and the Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court from 2001 to his 2003 suspension, and again from 2013 until May 2016 when he was again suspended. In 2003, during Moore's first term as Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, he refused to remove a monument of the Ten Commandments from the Alabama Judicial Building despite orders to do so from a federal judge. On November 13, 2003, the Alabama Court of the Judiciary unanimously removed Moore from his post as Chief Justice. In the years preceding his first election to the state Supreme Court, Moore successfully resisted attempts to have a display of the Ten Commandments removed from the courtroom. The controversy around Moore generated national attention. Moore's supporters regard his stand as a defensor of judicial rights and the Constitution of Alabama. Moore contended that federal judges who ruled against his actions consider obedience of a court or order superior to all other concerns, even the suppression of belief in the sovereignty of God. Moore sought the Republican nomination for the governorship of Alabama in 2006, but lost to incumbent Bo Briley in the June primary by a nearly 2-to-1 margin. On June 1, 2009, he announced his campaign for the 2010 election for governor. Moore placed fourth in the Republican primary held on June 1, 2010, having received only 19% of the vote. On April 18, 2011, Moore announced that he was forming an exploratory committee to run in the Republican presidential primaries in 2012. When that campaign failed to gain traction, he began to draw speculation in the media as being a potential Constitution Party presidential contender. In November 2011, Moore withdrew his exploratory committee and ended all speculation of a presidential candidacy when he instead announced that he would in 2012 seek his former post of Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court. On November 6, 2012, Moore won election back to the office of Alabama Chief Justice, defeating replacement Democratic candidate Bob Vance. On May 6, 2016, Moore was suspended from the bench and awaits a hearing and trial by the Alabama Court of the Judiciary for multiple ethics code violations, including abuse of authority and interference with federal-level court rulings and injunctions related to same-sex marriage. Early life, education and military service. Moore was born in Gadsden, the seat of Etowah County, to Roy Baxter Moore and the former Evelyn Stewart. The couple had met and married after his discharge from the United States Army during World War II. Roy was the oldest of 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, born to the couple. Moore describes his father, a construction worker, as a hard-working man who earned barely enough to make ends meet, but he taught me more than money could ever buy. From him I learned about honesty, integrity, perseverance, and never to be ashamed of who you are or what you believe in. Early on, my dad shared with me the truth about God's love and the sacrifice of his own son, Jesus. Moore described his mother as a homemaker who was always there to help me with my schoolwork, to care for me when I was sick, and to encourage me to do the best I could. In 1954, the Moores relocated to Houston, Texas, site of a post-war building boom. After some 4 years, they returned to Alabama, then moved to Pennsylvania, and returned permanently to Alabama. In his later years, the senior Moore worked for the Tennessee Valley Authority building dams and later the Anniston Army Depot. Moore attended school his freshman year at Gallant near Gadsden but transferred to Etowah County High School for his final 3 years of public education, graduating in 1965. on the recommendation of outgoing Democratic U.S. Representative Albert Raines, after confirmation by incoming Republican Representative James D. Martin of Gadsden. Moore was admitted to the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, where he graduated in 1969 with a Bachelor of Science degree. With the Vietnam War underway, Moore first served in several posts as a military police officer, including Fort Benning, Georgia, and Illesheim, Germany, before being sent to South Vietnam. Serving as company commander of his MP unit, Moore was known to be very strict. Some of the soldiers gave him the derogatory nickname, Captain America, because of his attitude toward discipline. His role earned him several enemies, and in his autobiography he recalls sleeping on sandbags to avoid a grenade or bomb being tossed under his cot, as many had threatened fragging the commander. Moore left the United States Army as a captain in 1974, and was admitted to the University of Alabama School of Law that same year. He graduated in 1977 with a Juris Doctor degree and returned to Gadsden to begin private practice with a focus on personal injury and insurance cases, elections and travels. Moore soon moved to the district attorney's office, working as the first full-time prosecutor in Etowah County. During his tenure there, Moore was investigated by the state bar for suspect conduct after convening a jury to discuss what he perceived to have been funding shortages in the sheriff's office. Several weeks after the state bar investigation was dismissed as unfounded, Moore quit his prosecuting position to run as a Democrat for the county's circuit court judge seat in 1982. The election was bitter, with Moore alleging that cases were being delayed in exchange for payoffs. The allegations were never substantiated, and Moore overwhelmingly lost the Democratic runoff primary to fellow attorney Donald Stewart, whom Moore described as an honorable man for whom I have much respect, and he eventually became a close friend. A second bar complaint against Moore followed, and though this too was dismissed as unfounded, Moore left Gadsden shortly thereafter in great disappointment. Moore's travels eventually took him to Texas, where he spent a year training and fighting professionally as a kickboxer. After a brief return to Gadsden, Moore next traveled to the Australian outback and, after meeting fundamentalist Christian Colin Rolfe, worked for almost a year as a cowboy on Rolfe's 42,000-acre cattle ranch. He remembered both careers fondly in his autobiography and subsequent interviews, and was particularly proud of a kickboxing victory in the Greater Gadsden Tournament of Champions, a triumph he attributed to divine will. Moore returned to Gadsden again in 1985. He ran in 1986 for Etowah County's district attorney position against fellow Democrat Jimmy Hedgespeth. He lost that election as well, and Moore returned to private practice in the city. During this period, he married his wife Kayla, switched his affiliation to the GOP, and added to his office a wooden Ten Commandments plaque that he had personally carved in 1980. Circuit Judge appointment in 1992. Etowah County Circuit Judge Julius Swan died in office. Republican Governor Guy Hunt was charged with making a temporary appointment until the next election. Moore's name was floated by some of his associates, and a background check was initiated with several state and county agencies, including the Etowah County District Attorney's Office. Moore's former political opponent Jimmy Hedgespeth, who still helmed the DA's office, recommended Moore despite personal reservations, and Moore was installed in the position he had failed to win in 1982. The impossible had happened. Moore wrote afterward, "God had given me something that I had not been able to obtain through my own efforts. Early prayer Ten Commandments controversy. When Moore's tenure as circuit judge began, he brought his wooden Ten Commandments plaque with him, hanging it on the walls of his courtroom behind his bench. Moore told the Montgomery Advertiser that his intention in hanging the plaque was to fill up the bare space on the courtroom walls and to indicate the importance of the Ten Commandments. He states that it was not his intention to generate controversy. Still, as he told The Atlantic, he understood that the potential for controversy was there, but "I wanted to establish the moral foundation of our law." Soon after his appointment, when Moore presided over a case where two male strippers were charged with murdering a drug addict, the attorney for the defendants objected to the display. This drew the attention of critics, who also objected to Moore's practice of opening court sessions with a prayer beseeching divine guidance for jurors in the deliberations. In at least one instance, Moore asked a clergyman to lead the court's jury pool in prayer, though such pre-session prayers were not uncommon in Alabama, having begun many years earlier by George C. Wallace, Jr., when he was a circuit judge. The local branch of the American Civil Liberties Union sent a letter in June 1993 with the threat of a lawsuit if such prayers did not cease. On June 20, 1994, the ACLU sent a representative to Moore's courtroom to observe and record the pre-session prayer. Though the organization did not immediately file suit, Moore decried the action as an act of intimidation in a post-trial press conference. The incident drew additional attention to Moore just as he was campaigning to hold onto his circuit court seat. In that year's election, Moore won the seat in a landslide victory over local attorney Keith Pitts, who had unsuccessfully prosecuted the "Silk and Satin" murder case lawsuit. In March 1995, the ACLU filed a lawsuit against Moore, stating that the pre-session prayers and the Ten Commandments display were both unconstitutional. This original lawsuit was eventually dismissed for technical reasons, but Governor Fob James instructed State Attorney General Bill Pryor to file suit in Montgomery County in support of Moore. The case ended up before State Circuit Judge Charles Price, who in 1996 declared the prayers unconstitutional but initially allowed the Ten Commandments plaque to remain on the courtroom walls. Immediately after the ruling, Moore held a press conference vowing to defy the ruling against pre-session prayers and affirming a religious intent in displaying the plaque. Critics responded by asking Price to reconsider his previous ruling, and the judge issued a new ruling requiring the Ten Commandments plaque to be removed in 10 days. Moore appealed Price's decision and kept the plaque up. 10 days later, the Alabama Supreme Court issued a temporary stay against the ruling. The court never ruled in the case, throwing it out for technical reasons in 1998. On the day that the circuit court ruling was stayed, Moore appeared on the national morning program Today, praising the ruling and vowing to continue his practices. A poll released soon after found that 88% of Alabamians supported Moore, though Moore was later investigated by the state Judicial Ethics Committee regarding the use of money raised by Coral Ridge Ministries in his defense. The investigation eventually ended with no charges being brought.